Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J, live from the Den, Legacy, Internet, Radio. Thanking everybody for continuing to rock with us tonight as we have been progressing throughout the show. We've been talking about Alzheimer's, and we've been talking about dementia, and we've been talking about the effects on the family members, and basically giving information on how it affects families. And we're going to move into our next piece of the show where we're going to talk about caregivers, and we're waiting for my mom's Jay to call in. So she'll be calling in here momentarily to kind of share her experience in taking care of her mother, my grandmother, my Nana, with regards to it. And while we're waiting for her to call into the show, we're going to kind of talk a little bit, kind of pick up what we were just kind of talking about in that last segment while we're efforting that phone call. She'll be calling in here momentarily. Okay. So, First Lady, you were going to say something?
Well, just before... Oh. Right on time.
Right on time. Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J, live from the Den, Legacy, Internet, Radio. It is, of course, my pleasure and my honor to reintroduce to some and introduce to others my maternal unit, my mama, y'all. What's up, Ma?
Hey, Marcus. How y'all doing over there?
Hey, Mom.
Hello. Hey.
Hey, everybody. I know everybody. I know Joe. How you doing, Joe?
I'm great, Mom. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. So that was now I'll be introduced to others.
Yeah. So you got. So let me give you the rundown of who we got, Ma. I told you about my sister Tony, who was born in Margaret Haig Hospital in Jersey City, New Jersey.
Tony, how you?
Doing well.
You got Tony. You got one of my favorite people on the planet, the First Lady of Legacy Internet Radio, comedian S. Lissa P, is helping me co-host tonight.
Hello there. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
You got our sister Neek in the back and whatnot. She's waving at you.
Yeah, I'm watching y'all. I'm watching you.
Oh, you can say, okay, cool.
Like no need for
Okay, so if you watching, then you got our brother Solo standing there. He's the one in the red waving at you right now.
Yes,
Solo, he's
Hello.
on our biker show. And then, of course, last but not least, you got Mr. 3375. He's our utility player. Whatever we need, he's right there. He has us. He takes care of us.
All right.
So that's the introduction. That's the introduction. So what I want to do, I don't know if you had an opportunity to kind of listen to the first segment where the First Lady kind of went through the definition of Alzheimer's and dementia and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is I want to talk about Nana, and I want to talk about you and how you dealt with Nana. So as a caregiver, and so I'm going to just kind of start at the beginning and see about how it began. So when you first noticed that your mother...
Marcus, I can remember the minute, the day, the hour, because it happened in church when I first knew that, absolutely something wasn't correct.
Okay.
We were in church, in the service. A person came in, a person that we both knew, came into church, and my mother said something so inappropriate about this woman.
Wasn't nothing wrong with her. She was
you would never think of her, saying anything, bad or mean about anybody. And she said the meanest thing about this lady, and I was like, what?
Wow.
So, that was a minute. That was the personality. Her personality, was flipping. It had changed. And now that's the situation that didn't go on, throughout, the period of time that we dealt with this. But it was at that moment that I knew something wasn't right.
Right. Now, we lost her when she was 82, going on 83. Do you remember?
She was 83. Now, this began when she was 75 years old.
Okay, that was where I was going. So how much time in between? So we're talking about an 8 year period, 7-8 year period that we kind of went through this period. Now, one of the things that I always thought, and this is just me, I don't even know if I shared this with you, but I always wondered if her no longer working had anything to do with her rapid decline mentally into dementia. I don't remember how old she was when she stopped working, but I'm guessing it couldn't have been much before this time.
It was just around that time. She was just about 75. She was about 75. It all, it began then.
Okay. Share with us real quick.
Things, were going on at work.
Share with the listeners real quick. What did she do for a living?
To stop working, but as you know, she worked in the emergency room at the hospital, and I wasn't made aware of any situations that happened, but I do know that she really didn't want to stop working.
Right.
She liked to go to work. She loved taking care of the kids. She was in the pediatric emergency room, but it just came to my attention that she was going to retire.
Right.
That she needed to retire. So I'm honestly not aware of any situations that arose, but I do know for a fact that she would rather have been there.
Right. Okay.
She wanted to keep on working.
Okay.
And and when her mind became less active, then the deterioration began.
Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. We're talking about dementia, Alzheimer's disease. We've got Moms J on the live line. My First Lady's got a question for you.
Hey, Moms J. Right after your mother had that experience in church, and she said that the inappropriate thing to the other woman. What did you do after that? Did you set up an appointment for her to go to the doctor the next day, or did you brush it off?
It wasn't that immediate, but it was shortly after that, maybe a month or more, that we talked to her internist. I mean, I didn't run out to the doctor then. We probably went at her next scheduled appointment.
Right.
Because she had some physical, problems, so we saw the doctor fairly regularly, and I brought it to his attention at that time.
Right.
Now we didn't do anything, then. It was just a kind of watch and wait sort of thing. Now here's the situation that you all didn't discuss earlier, and that was the hereditary aspect of it. Now my grandfather, her dad, we called it senile. Okay, granddaddy was senile. And he got to be a very older person, and but that was the terminology that we used, and we understood, that granddaddy was senile. And then it was her two older sisters, who were both being diagnosed, around that time, and I came to understand that's what was going on. So it was very much seemed to be a thread running through that part of the family.
I'm glad you brought that up, Ma, because I was going to bring that up, and since you brought it up, I'm going to kind of jump into this. Actually, before I do that, Tony has a question for you. Tony?
Hi, Moms J. I was just going to say that in doing my research for the show, I did find that when dementia and Alzheimer's are hereditary, it is rampant. So it's very severe. It's not like, it hits one person, may skip a generation, that it's rampant throughout the family.
Yeah. So there was a third sister, but she passed for, other reasons, the physical reasons. So we don't know what would have happened. But,
are you talking about the oldest?
Granddaddy and his three daughters each had the situation.
Now I'm curious about the family. Are you talking about the oldest when you said there was a third sister?
I'm talking about Uncle Horace, so we don't know, she didn't seem to have any, anything that we noticed, but, she died younger than they did.
One of the questions that I had, because I was...
Her older sister, one was 89 and the other one was 88.
I was going to ask you about that. I'm glad you brought up, the two older sisters, because one of the things that I had shared with the crew about my experience with dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia is that it affects different people differently.
Yes.
And
that's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
I know, and we don't have to get into the names and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay. We know who the aunts are. But I shared in the last segment my experience with Nana, how I was her favorite. I think everybody knew that. Nobody would dispute that.
Moms J, is that the truth?
Don't put my mom.
Hold up. That's on the line. Hold up.
I was her favorite. I feel comfortable saying it, but seriously,
And Marcus too. Going towards the end, you know, she knew me, and she knew you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we'll just leave it there.
We'll just leave. Yeah, we'll leave it there. I had that experience with her. I'm sure you remember that experience in Virginia Beach when we couldn't find that jury.
Yeah, couldn't find it. Yeah.
You couldn't find it. And I had never seen her that way, but I'd also heard stories about how one sister got violent and the other sister had been pretty docile. Is that accurate? You still with me?
Hello, was that me?
No, okay, I got you. Okay. I remember that story with Nana because I was there, but I remember hearing stories about one of her sisters was violent and kind of erratic and kind of like, kind of acting crazy, for lack of a better term, and then the other one was pretty docile. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
So talk to us about the differences between three sisters in the same bloodline.
In that particular situation, as they aged and dealt with it.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean that's an explanation, right? You hit it. One of them was, violent. She took a frying pan to, her daughter. Whereas the other one, was just very quiet. She retreated into herself. She didn't talk a lot. She didn't talk a lot anymore. Your Nana, she never, stopped talking or anything. She always knew me. She knew, the immediate family, your dad. We still like to go places. She had a friend who, if she didn't get to see her friend, every day or every other day, and she always, she never lost her memory about that particular friend.
Right.
So she was still a little bit more social. She was social, but she just wasn't, the person that we knew.
Yeah. Let me get some love into you, Ma, because there's some folks that are checking us out and they want to say peace to you. Let's see. First, we're getting a hit from our sister Teresa Flats. Is saying peace to us right now.
Hey, Miss Teresa.
My baby sister, your daughter, Ned, is listening. She's saying peace to you. Cousin Tony, the grandson of one of those aunts is checking us out. He's saying peace to us. Cousin Camille, your niece, is checking us out.
Hey, Camille.
Camille is not happy with me saying that I'm the favorite. she says she ain't buying that at all.
I tell you this though, people, anybody else, your cousins, nieces or whatever. Nana loved Marcus because Marcus called up Nana and stayed in touch with her.
Yeah.
And she bragged about that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was there for her.
I love my Nana. Like when I would go home to Jersey, come back here from college in Virginia, before I went to hang with the homies, I had to see what's up with Nana. And I sat on this grown woman's lap till I was about 18, 19 years old. Yes, I did.
Yep. She appreciated it, so, but let's not dwell on it. We don't want to hurt nobody's feelings.
No, of course not. Of course not. I'm just being silly. My cousin Camille saying peace to you, First Lady. She's saying peace to you. And my sister Net, she's saying that Nana was feisty. What you got to say about that, Ma?
Yep, she was feisty. We got, when the situation, because you go through these stages, we had to stop, allowing her to cook, and this wonderful thing called Meals on Wheels stepped in and helped me out because, of course, I was working, and I had my family, and but we had to have her stop cooking.
Right.
That happened one day. I stepped off the elevator in her building, and I smelled the fire in the kitchen. I said, "Oh dear."
Wow.
You know how I'd have to walk down that long hallway from the elevator to her apartment.
It was long.
And I knew I was heading to where the fire came from.
Wow.
So we had to do that. And then the time that she went out, and we didn't know where she had gone, and she was missing in her car. Shortly after that, we had to take away the car keys.
Right.
So these things happen.
Right.
And
Miss Teresa is saying
medication
that
that she was on. Now the doctors were treating her for Alzheimer's. They were definitely treating her for Alzheimer's and giving her the Alzheimer's medication that that Aricept and Exelon. But it seemed as though they would make her physically ill.
Right.
That, as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't worth it to me,
Right.
to give her the Alzheimer's medications because the side effects were such that they made her physically ill.
Right.
So, we just rolled with it. It went on for 8 years. 8 years from the time that they determined that what it was. It lasted about 8 years.
Right. Half stepping on Marcus J. live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Miss Flats is listening to us, First Lady. She's saying that her mom actually has dementia and it's been very difficult. First Lady, you had a question?
Yes, Mom J. Another question as far, and Tony, she's going to read up later on the early, middle, and late stages of caregiving and what to look for and expect. One of the things that I read, and I don't know how true it is, so I hope everyone out there that's listening to Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J can help me. They stated that usually people with Alzheimer's and dementia, they usually get to the point where they need help as far as eating, where they forget to eat.
Yes.
So that's usually how they lose weight and things happen. Can you speak of, or can you say, did your mother go through that, or did you have to witness that, or anyone in the room?
Well, no. Actually, she didn't forget to eat. We had this wonderful program that we were able to tap into called Meals on Wheels. Okay, so at the point where she was no longer allowed by me to cook, because of course you run into that situation where I stepped off the elevator one evening and I smelled the smoke and I knew that it was her and burning up the kitchen. So at that point she wasn't cooking anymore. But Meals on Wheels brought her food every day, and she ate. She didn't. She remembered to eat.
Okay.
Because it was there. It was brought every day.
Okay. Huh.
Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. You're listening to us have our discussion on Alzheimer's and dementia. Special guest on the live line, my mom, who is sharing with us the experience that she had as a caregiver for her mom, my Nana. I'm gonna ask you a question. It might be a tough one, but I'm sure you can handle it. You can rock with it on this one. What was it like being the primary caregiver? I know that was a challenge. I was here, so it was. I wasn't there to actually watch you go through it, and it just kind of intellectually, I can guess what you dealt with, but I wasn't there to watch you deal with it.
It was stressful because I was always asking myself, what else can I do? Is there something that I haven't done today? I was working, as you know.
Right.
And so the community that she lived in, where she lived in a big complex. It was a gated community. I enlisted the help of the people around, the security people, and anybody that I could plug in to help.
Can I, Miles J? This is Big Bro Joe. Well, you know me. I'm just Joe. In that facility that you had your mother at the time, was it a memory care facility?
She wasn't in any facility. She was never in any facility. She was always at home.
Oh, okay.
No, she was never in a facility. But she was in a the community that she lived in was a gated community. I had the people were plugged in, and they were plugged into me. Like you couldn't get past the security guard in the lobby. You had to check in there, so that was one of my people. You couldn't get out of the parking lot without going past the gatehouse. So I had people there. People would alert me. To what was, if anything was going on. Oops, mom's downstairs. Did you know mom was in the lobby today? They would let me know, what was going. So that was help.
So you had a village.
Yeah, right. It was definitely a village. It was Gregory Park is where she lived, and it was a village of people. The security force, the security people, they were help.
Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J, live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. We're going to wrap up and head toward a close here. But before I do that, your daughter, my sister, is saying that you did an awesome job, Mom. You were always patient.
That's great.
So, you know, your daughter, my sister, was there more so than I was because I lived in another state. But she was there and she was able to watch. And so I appreciate her comment. I'm glad that she's listening.
I appreciate that, Ned.
Yeah.
You know, you do the best that you can, and you're always feeling as though you're not doing enough. That was my situation. I always felt as though I wasn't doing enough, and but it went on for 6, 7, 8 years almost.
Right.
And if each year or each, she'd get a little worse. The memory would go a little bit more, but she always knew me. She always knew Mark. She always knew Ned. But everybody else, I don't know.
Yeah. I had mentioned, I didn't say any names, and I'm not going to, but we have a matriarchal aunt that's still in the family, that's still alive, that's going through it right now. And I'm guessing who I'm referring to.
Yes, of course.
And you want to share, you're not the caregiver of that person, but you want to share just your external opinion about her type. I mean, we talked about the two aunts. One was docile, one was violent. Your mom was somewhere in the middle. This particular aunt, is she similar to them? Now, she's not a bloodline aunt. She's a Marian aunt.
Yes, Well, she's docile, but she's basically, she has retreated into herself right now, and I don't think she knows, any of us anymore.
Okay. Well, she certainly didn't know who I was, and this was an aunt. And just in the interest of kind of painting a picture for the listeners on how Alzheimer's can affect you, your father was one of 10, and she married one of the 10. So just do the math on how many cousins that there are, and then you're a cousin, but then those cousins had children. And then those cousins' children had children. I'm one of those children.
There's a lot of us.
There's a lot of us, this is the point. And she knew who everybody was. Like, she knew who everybody was. And when I last saw her in the summer of 15, she had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
It's horrible.
Yeah. That's tough. All right, Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J, live from the Dan Legacy Internet Radio. Your cousin Tony is saying that she was and still is the Rock, and he loves you. so cousin Tony is giving you some love.
You rock, Tony.
You got it.
Yay, Mom's J. Ow, ow.
Right.
Go,
Jay,
Mama.
Mama J, I got a quick question. This is Mr. 3375. Totally off the subject.
Uh-oh. Not sure where this is going.
Has Marcus J always been this grumpy old man?
Go ahead and answer freely, but remember, I'm gonna talk to you later.
Marcus is serious. Okay, you just can't. You have to come correct with my son. Okay,
right.
He's going to question you. Okay, so I hope that answers you.
Hey, Miles J, you know what? That's funny. Because for 23 years, I've been putting up with his little ornery hind part. And he's been putting up with my big ornery hind part. And you are exactly right.
You have to come correct, because he'll question you and hold your feet to the fire. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. I know that sometimes having these conversations are not easy. But you came through it like a champ, and I knew that you would, and I love you to death, and hopefully Pops is sitting next to you and giving you a thumbs up, and because you did outstanding. And the family that's listening, the blood and beyond, is agreeing with me. So thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you joining
I
the show.
enjoy all you young folks. I'm out here. You don't see me or you don't hear from me, but I'm here. I'm here.
You got it.
Thank you.
We all coming for pie.
First lady wants you to make some pie, Mom.
Please make some pie.
So thank you for joining us, Ma. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, all right.
You got it.
So long, everybody.
You got it.
Good night.
Good night.
And you know how step on Marcus J live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. A couple of quick comments I'm gonna get in from the Peanut Gallery in Facebook Live. My cousin Camille says we'll need a huge calculator to total up all those cousins. She's absolutely right on that. Miss Teresa says that the biggest problem with her mom would not sign over anything. Unfortunately, could no longer stay in the house, and Medicaid would not pay because she had a house. Everything has to be paid in cash.
Amen.
So you're dealing with those kinds of things.
Wow.
She also said that she finally got power of attorney so she can put the house up for sale to pay for her care.
Wow.
So these are things that you just really don't think about. And my guess
Right.
is, big bro, we're going to talk a little bit about that kind of stuff
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
in the next segment
Yeah.
when we talk about your experience dealing with your auntie. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, First Lady.
Right, and I guess if we can, really quick, if we can go through, I just again want to give out the 800 number for the Alzheimer's and Dementia Caregiver Center. It is 800-272-3900. Again, it is 800-272-3900 for the Alzheimer's and Dementia Caregiver Center, and they will actually give you information and support on things like Ms. Flatt stated, things to do about with the home and finances and people in your area and your zip code that can help you with any extra care that you're not aware of that, can be given to, your loved one or whomever. But yeah, again, we'll give that number out again at the end of the show, but again, it's 800-272-3900. And I know once we come back from the break, we'll have Big Bro Joe talk about his family member and the things that he knows. But also, once we come back, we'll have Tony go over a little bit of what the early, middle, and late stages of caregiving for people with Alzheimer's and dementia look like. So when we come back, ain't no half stepping with Marcus J on Legacy Internet Radio.
What up, everybody? It's your girl, Jody Smith, JMM, Jody Music Mixtape. It's a classic. Get at my dude, Marcus J, on Legacy Internet Radio. Ain't no half stepping. Get your own JMM mixtape. Hit me up. Jody Smith on Facebook, Jody Music, Jody Music, or you can hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. They're both Jody_804. Get at me on YouTube. That's Jody the Artist. Check out some of my footage, some of my videos. You can listen in on SoundCloud, Jody Smith Music, or just give me a call at 1-262-JODY-804. That's 1-262-JODY-804.